The Orlando Police Department and other agencies performed strongly during the Pulse nightclub massacre, but additional training is needed to improve communication and prepare for future terror attacks, officials wrote in a report commissioned by the U.S. Department of Justice and released Monday. The OPD's response, which was appropriate and consistent with national guidelines and best practices, saved lives, wrote Russ Washington, Acting Director of Community-Oriented Policing Services. Many questions remain unanswered. Researchers wrote that they did not have access to the FBI's reports, crime scene documentation, classified information about the shooter, or potential law enforcement-friendly fire. The researchers spoke with police officers and department leaders, reviewed 911 calls and police procedures, and researched practices from other incidents. They spoke with just one survivor of the attack, whom they did not name. They reviewed 10 additional witness statements collected after the attack. Only one survivor was willing to talk with us directly, researchers wrote. The assessment team was sensitive to the raw and fresh trauma that these individuals have suffered because of the actions of the suspect. Because of this, the assessment team did not aggressively pursue direct contact with survivors without their express consent and interest in talking with the team. The June 12, 2016, attack at the gay nightclub south of downtown left 49 dead and at least 68 injured. The gunman, Omar Mateen, was killed in a shootout with police 3 hours after he first opened fire. His wife, Noor Salman, was arrested about 7 months later and faces federal charges of aiding and abetting Mateen and lying to investigators after the shooting. Salman's trial is scheduled for March. The DOJ's Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services commissioned the report from the Police Foundation to look into how prepared local law enforcement agencies were for a mass shooting, what strategies and tactics they used, and how officers are handling the aftermath. Orlando Police Chief John Mena requested the report shortly after the attack. We believe it was our responsibility to share this knowledge, and that is why we asked for the outside review, Mena said Monday. Our officers faced a very difficult and complex situation, and the worst attack in our country at that time since 9/11. And they responded with bravery and courage, and I could not be more proud to be their police chief. Mayor Buddy Dyer said the report validates the actions that were taken that night by Orlando officials. I've learned so much since that night, even when I talked to some of the victims, Dyer said. I continue to learn more things about what occurred, but I do stand pretty well convinced that OPD and the City of Orlando made the appropriate response. The report said OPD policy and procedures were followed properly, but the department's plan was not written with an attack of this magnitude in mind. Among other things, it suggested more training is needed concerning communications and tactics between police and fire agencies, in dealing with officers who showed up at the scene without being called there, and in handling the news media in the aftermath. Officers interviewed also suggested training scenarios that more closely mirror how hectic a real attack can be.